Hey everybody, this is Peter Palmiotti of Human Art Studio, and this is Making Comics and Art. And before we get started with our guest here tonight, I'll do a couple little things. Let's hit this. Trying to grow my channel past 1,000, so if you aren't already, please subscribe. Hit the like button, hit the notification button, all that jazz. And I'm trying to help promote other people's channels as well. I have a Facebook group, creator-owned comics group, and in there I started a 1K subscriber club. These are 3 people that posted the details of the channels and their links. If you go down below the video, you can click on the actual links, but that's for you to go check out. And one final thing I'll mention is Saturday, 1 p.m. in the afternoon, I'm having a Pimp Your Comic episode, 1 p.m. And that's where you can come on. It will be open stream to all. Come on, talk about your comic for at least 15 minutes, as long as there's nobody waiting in the green room. And just, yeah, if you got a crowdfunder or somewhere online that you're selling it, or it's just a work in progress. You know, it's all to help those small independent creators out there to talk about their books that don't get the chance to. So here with me today is Jason. Hey, Jason.
Hey,
welcome.
Matty, how are you?
Very good, very good. It's great to have you on tonight.
Oh, thank you for having me on, mate.
Yeah, what are we here to talk about?
A lot of things, I guess.
Yes.
Mainly I'm talking about my Kickstarter. Me and co-creator Jeffrey Burantz, we have a Kickstarter that's going on right now, and we're doing pretty well. Pretty happy to talk about. Any questions you have about it?
Okay, awesome. Well, let's see. Is it this one? Yep, this is it. I'm going to share. All right, should be seeing it. So this is Kilobad.
There it is.
Yep. So it's live for another 20 days. You're getting close to your goal. You got 97 backers. Doing pretty good so far.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's sport's been overwhelming and pretty happy about it. This is our first Kickstarter together. So, just mainly experimenting on what works and what doesn't. And so it's kind of a departure from my style, what I'm used to. I'm used to a lot more darker sort of artwork. Changed it a little bit for this, to make it more, suited the book. But yeah, this is one of like 3 that we were hoping to release.
So this is book 1. I'm going to scroll down. Kilobad is a brand new superhero horror comic series with nice comic flair. Each issue is a done-in-one story reflecting a different horror genre through the superhero lens, but with connected tissue for plot and characters to run through entire series. And you can start at the beginning right now with issue 1. And I got the cover for issue 1. I got as the cover for the YouTube video.
Yeah.
And it's pretty sweet. And let's see if I can get the whole cover in. Maybe. There we go. A little bit more. But yeah, let's see. Preview pages. So here's some preview pages. I love the Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Homage.
Big fan of that.
Pretty slick.
Big fan of slashes. it, it's sort of like a it's a matchup of what me and Jeff really like, superhero and slasher films. And as you can see, a lot, like this project probably, it started out as just us having random conversations about the 90s X-Men and the comics that we grew up on, like the 90s things, and we wanted to just get like a maybe like a modern take on it and mix it with the horror genre.
Yeah, it's a great idea. I just saw Suicide Squad, so it's
yeah, it was great.
Flavor, yeah, that's definitely in the air. All them falling out of the plane.
Yeah, that James Gunn cartoonish violence where it's over the top, right? It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Where,
yeah.
It's just overtly violent and overtly graphic that it's just so cartoonish.
Absolutely. So let's see. You want to go over the rewinds as we scroll down? Let's see. Keeping it simple, there will be 3 print editions, 1 regular cover by you, Jason, one Kickstarter exclusive by Paul Shirvino. I can't pronounce names.
Shirvino.
Of course. And 1 exclusive by yourself as well. And then there's the Process Junkie PDF. It's also a cool thing. Feature a script and concept art, and annotations. And you're doing songs for the book.
Well, Jeff has a band. He's actually the lead singer of Americans UK.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, a lot of that stuff was put in, accompanying the Kickstarter as well. And you can see through the rewards, you can get some of the on the tiers. You can get some of those songs as well.
Right. So we'll go down with the digital taste, digital plus. Yeah, you get Time Bomb by the Americans UK, Immaculate Sanchez by Americans UK, Kilobad Wallpapers, then Hard Pledges, you get the regular cover, and those extras. There's a digital premium. Then the Process Junkie regular cover.
As you can see there, he's got 2 songs there: Immaculate Sanchez.
Yep.
And Time Bomb.
Yep.
Which we used for the trailer for making the video.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah. Watch the video. We'll see in a minute if we can get that to play. Let's see. Limited edition Kickstarter exclusive cover, and all of the perks that came before. And the horror fan gets an exclusive cover tier, plus the poster by Paul, and all the rest. Process Junkie Kickstarter exclusive cover, print edition, yep. And then the retailer special, which is awesome for retailers out there. They can get 10 copies, print edition, Retail exclusive, 10 copies of that. Then poster and free shipping. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then,
So
for people,
there's only one of those left. The single character commissions. Those sold out.
Oh, okay.
Quick. Yeah. So let everybody know that that's one
just
left.
One left.
For one left for what you want me to draw.
Yeah. And then this is all gone. Yeah. No longer available. Is this one no longer available? Okay, so just what is above this. So yeah, just one more commission, and otherwise it's just the different covers and digital versions, printed versions. And this is a sample of one of your commissions, which is more along the lines of the work I know you for.
Yeah, I know. It was quite a departure. It was quite a hard sell for me. I mean, me and Jeff understood that because of what, I don't know what I regularly do or what my wheelhouse is and how I draw, whatnot. But this is as you understand, Peter, you want to stretch yourself artistically. I'm not a one, you don't want to be one note. And the artwork that's in the first comic book is actually, it's heavily inspired by the, Capcom artists. From the Street Fighter games, the Darkstalker games. So
right,
and I
definitely.
felt, I think artwork is like sort of casting, isn't it? Like what fits the sort of story. That's why you get, it's exactly like how you cast who directs your film or whatnot. And for this story, especially for the first book, I thought that was, like a better word, appropriate for it. Not to be like, because it does include superhero, and I do love drawing. I do love drawing in that style. More clean, more bold lines, more let's say anatomy orientated, as we used to love as kids.
Yeah.
Vascular characters.
So let's see. So for international, there are no plans to ship outside the U.S. for now. We encourage international readers to buy the digital levels. And perhaps if we enter the direct market, it would be even a better place to get a physical book to your shores.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, Peter. It's just, we discussed this. We just don't want to promise things we can't deliver. And this being our first Kickstarter, we want to make sure we can fulfill everything. I mean,
right. No, absolutely.
Yeah, Jeff was very adamant that I got most of the book completed, at least all the pencils and inks completed before we even thought about releasing the Kickstarter. And I'm like a quarter through. I'm 75% finished with the colors. That's what I've been taking my time because I'm not usually a colorist. But I wanted to challenge myself.
I was wondering if that. Yeah, I was wondering if that was you on colors.
Yeah,
sure it might be. That's awesome. Looks really good.
Thank you. Yeah.
It's funny. My character is red and purple too.
Pardon me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody, Peter, before us decided red and purple would go together, did they? There's not an X-Man or any other character that's red and purple.
Isn't Magneto red and purple?
Oh.
I'm sure it is more.
Yeah. I mean, when you're a nascent, I guess, art school guy, right? That's one of the complementary colors. That's it's pleasing to the eye.
Yeah, it's like I went with mostly red because I love Daredevil, and I was like, what color can I do? You know, it's like I created my character back in my late teens, and I did like black and red and black and green as the color combinations. Like,
right.
No, none of those work. Okay, let's go with red and purple.
It just fits, right? Yeah, it's very pleasing.
Yeah, it's awesome. All right, so I'm gonna try this. I'm not sure if this sound is gonna come through, so you let me know right away.
Yeah.
I'm gonna click on the video.
Kind of froze there. Yeah, Peter, it's there's no sound coming through on that one.
What's that?
There's no sound really coming through.
Is the sound coming?
No.
There's no sound. Oh, okay, let's see. I'm not sure how to do this sound. All right. Well, I suggest people go watch the video.
Yeah, everybody wants on their own.
I love the intro.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Well, all right. Well, enough of that. I'm back here. Okay. So yeah, I love the sort of Rob Liefeld nod to the beginning of the video.
It's more than a nod, matey. Yeah, it's you know, we you know, intentionally you know, to express our love for for this project and whatnot, right?
Right.
It's basically, dude, it's basically a love letter to us as kids, you know. I mean, all of us that do this, really, when we were younger, you always wanted to be that kid. You know, you have like-minded individuals. One can one can write, one thinks they can draw, and you know, you come together, and then you have these great, ideas that you do. And in that same token, you want to be industrious. You know, you want to say, "Oh, we're gonna our first comic book and sell millions. It's gonna be, awesome." And in my mind, the Image guys really did do that. But obviously, they had professional work and whatnot. But yeah, like you collaborate together, you make something, crazy. Sometimes you finish it. Most times you don't with those kind of stories. As you know, if you've, I assume that you've grown up the same way as me, working with collaborators and whatnot.
Yeah. It's not always easy. It's definitely it's a lot of work to not only put together a good book, but then like nowadays we have Kickstarter and Indiegogo and all that, but it's also hard to sell to people and get the word out, and really it's always a lot more. It's very dependent on fans and friends, because
Sure.
you can't do it yourself. It's like
No.
I've watched so many campaigns fall on their face because it's just one person doing everything, and it's like it doesn't matter if it's a great book or not.
Yeah.
But I mean, you guys succeeded in doing the book and getting most of it done so far, and putting it up on Kickstarter now, and it's getting it close to funded already.
Yeah. We're pretty happy with that. It's also, I like playing with my own toys, so to speak, right? Like when you create something that's yours, you designed it from the ground up, you're more motivated to finish it rather than working on somebody else's work as well. And me and Jeff have very, very similar tastes in sort of subject matter, so the collaboration has been fantastic too. We've worked in the past a lot for other things like heavy metal. We've worked we've created other characters for heavy metal actually.
Okay.
It's just fun because Jeff will allow me to create anything. Like he comes up with the story characters and whatnot, but he lets me just go wild with the designs. It's always like a thumbs up. It's great because we have the same sort of what are they called, design tropes that we enjoy.
Right.
And like through those conversations when we were doing other things, it was like, oh well, what about this little story, and it worked out well from there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you've heard the names that the characters are called, right? Like they're the epitome of like 90s comic book names, like War Wound, and Ice Baby, and Gigantic, completely original characters,
Oh yeah. We have some people in the chat. We have 24 Eyes. Welcome.
Hello.
We have Dori Jones. Oh hey, finally catching one. Appreciate it.
I believe it's a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people have different schedules, so more people watch afterwards.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have a lot of people in the chat, but we appreciate everybody who checks it out and watches.
Oh no, thank you. Yeah, thank you for asking. To come on, matey.
Oh, my pleasure, man. It's like I've been an admirer of your work for a long time now, and it's great to chat with you.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Peter, what ink are you using there?
This is Pelican.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it's not the Pelican I used to get. I don't think it's
right.
It's a little waterier than I used to getting. Like I just picked this up maybe a month or two ago. Like I get one of those big jugs.
Yeah.
And I have that, and I have the Black Magic, Higgins Black Magic. But it seems to be getting better because I think it was just like the surface, the ink at the surface was a little too watery. But yeah, I like a clean matte finish when I put down ink.
Right.
And I like it as black as possible, but not, like I've seen a lot of inks where it's almost like gelatin and it's like shiny.
I found that with Speedball. They come
Yeah, I tried Speedball once and it was like, nah, this isn't for me. I'm very picky.
Yeah, no, dude. I'm an ink connoisseur as well. I think coming to the States from Australia, I was so happy that you can get Doc Martens Black Magic
right.
anyway.
Yeah,
and I was using that for a while, and then I changed to. I went back to Speedball for a while. I just used to water it down a bit because, yeah, you're right. It can get quite gluggy. Or sometimes I would, you're going through an inking, session or whatever, and you have the pot open, right? And you find it gluggy. I got like this little spray bottle. I'd mist over it. And because I generally, I use the 102 nib.
Right. Yeah, I got one.
Yeah, that gets really clogged up. That's the one.
Yeah. I have two small bottles. Like this is one of them, but this is specifically for brush ink. Then I have another one that I use for quill ink.
Right.
So the quill ink is a lot waterier. and it doesn't get clogged up as much.
Yeah. Are you cleaning those with X-Acto knives?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I sharpen the point with an X-Acto blade and clean off the excess ink as best I can. I feel like for all the years I've been doing this, I'm not delicate with my tools.
No.
but it's like I just use water to clean my brushes. I used to use chemicals, and it just seemed to melt everything. So I stay away from them.
Was it the what do they call it in America? We call it spirits. You got like mineral
Alcohol.
It's not. It's a little bit more harsher. It's a little bit more harsher than alcohol. It's called mineral spirits or something like that.
I forget what it was I was using, but I was cleaning my brushes, and I had like 3 or 4 brushes that I cleaned overnight, and I went and looked at them in the morning, and they were just like the plastic was melted,
Oh.
the wood was falling off. It's like,
Pardon me. You were cleaning the brushes with that stuff.
Yeah.
No. You're supposed to. I found this up pretty quick. Use shampoo and conditioner.
Yeah.
That's no joke.
That's much better.
Yeah, and there's like as simple as a bar of soap.
Right.
So and dude, I was so lazy with like you said, I mean, when I was younger, all this stuff like you would read the Marvel way, especially back in Australia, it was so expensive. Like, the Bristol board would be like $5 each. You get them in a pack, but it worked out to be $5 each, right? And you don't want to ruin it. So sometimes deter you from drawing, and I cut my teeth myself, like on that copier paper that you used to get in the offices, because it was so cheap, But the problem with that is that you can't ink heavy with that. That stuff bleeds, and it's not archival.
That's what this is. Just like regular copy paper that I sharpen my point every once in a while.
Yeah.
But that's it's just the paper I throw out.
Yeah, you're not so precious with it, right? And that's what sort of happened with the tools. I was buying more and more and more, but then I just said, the hell with it, and I just but the problem with saying the hell with it is I would never clean them properly after I did a page. I was just so happy and tired. I just left it. Let that stuff dry. You know what I mean? To my chagrin, the next time I have to use it, whatever. That's why I bought like a couple. To have them on there. But I used to be so delicate with my tools, mate. Just, but then screw it. Sometimes it made better lines. Like I used to be a big fan of like really fine cross hatching, right? And you'd have to keep your cores pretty sharp.
Yeah.
But I figured out I can use those those Pigma pens. They got like archival ink in them.
Yep.
Yeah, it did the same thing. The guy that influenced me on using Crocals, like Todd McFarlane, I think I was seeing like an Instagram of his or whatever, and he was using those the same microns,
right?
Just to get the fine lines, and I'm like, yeah, that's true. Those things are cheap as chips, and you can go through them and like really thrash them, and you don't have to worry about it.
True. Yeah. As an artist, like I know you mostly from Instagram.
Yeah.
And his creators outlet is in the chat. Welcome. And there's an artist, I think his name is Grant Richards.
Right.
Who uses microns. And I didn't know that until recently. But he does all his stuff is like highly intricate cross hatching,
right?
And it's like gorgeous. It's and it's just like from top to bottom, from left to right. and then diagonal, both ways. And
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really simplistic in theory, but he's doing these like incredible layouts as well as like lots of figures and faces and everything, and special effects kind of stuff. And yeah, he does gorgeous work, and it's all microns. It's like it's like here I am struggling with a brush, and he's just pulling it off with a cheap ass marker.
Yeah. What I learned early on, and I did read this somewhere, being like such a comic book art head more, or like I love comic books, but you remember like Wizard magazine before internet, and you'd go doing the deep dives, figuring out what your favorite artist did. And I think it sort of psychologically made you think like, well, if I'm using the same tool my favorite artists use, maybe my work will be as good, not knowing that that's not really the case. But
yeah,
the standards, industry standard was like the Sable 3 brush.
Yeah,
that's like that's like a $60 brush, and the Crow Quill and whatnot, and they were really against you using pens or whatnot. And you understand why? It's because that stuff wasn't archival.
Yeah, it would turn green or different colors.
No, because it's unfortunate, because one of my favorite artists, one of my favorite influences is Alex Nino.
Right.
Filipino artist.
I love his work.
Man, so good, right?
So good.
A lot of his stuff are turning like faded red, faded green.
Yeah.
He wasn't using archival in the Philippines.
Yeah, it's like Gil Kane was one of my favorites, and he used a lot of marker, and
I didn't realize that Gil did.
Yeah. When he inked himself and stuff, plenty of people inked him, but
right.
Yeah, always loved his work. But yeah, it's like I've done things mostly with brush and quill, and when I do technical stuff, I have repeaterographs, technical pens. Different people call it different things, but
yeah,
those are my tools of choice for as long as they'll exist.
Yeah. It's also, really don't have to use brush or like that now. With scanning it, you can like even manipulate it on Photoshop or one of the other apps.
Yeah.
That's how do you feel about that with inking right now, like straight digital? Have you used that yourself, like Procreate and whatnot?
I haven't used Procreate. I have like different art programs. Mostly, I use different ones for different things.
Yeah.
I don't do a lot of artsy digital stuff like my YouTube covers. Like I just slap those together with a couple of different art programs. But as far as really enhancing drawings, I haven't done much. Like mostly I messed around like on some of the stuff I've done on Instagram and whatnot. I got a XP pen, a tablet that once I'm done inking my book, I'm gonna start doing the colors myself.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna use the XP to make it easier, hopefully.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're penciling as well, right? Like straight traditional and whatnot.
Yeah, like the first issue of my book is a friend of mine penciled it. So Rich Fuchsia was the penciler of issue 1. I'll be penciling, inking, writing, coloring next issue, ongoing from there.
Yeah.
He's gotten into like real painting and illustration work, so he's like, enough with comics. I don't blame him. There's better money elsewhere.
it's really time consuming, matey.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people don't realize, except for my writer, he's the greatest guy in the world. I mean, you're basically the director, the set designer, the choreographer. You're all those things. Everything on that page is you have to think about. You have to visualize that from a story.
Yeah. Then it takes 2 minutes to read. So.
Yeah, but man, like, listen, like, yeah, takes if they notice it, they gloss over it, but they'll notice if it's not there, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I kid, but it's like I love this stuff. I wouldn't be doing it. I'll be doing it 30 years in September. Dude. So it's like.
Oh yeah, dude.
So in the chat, AGB, EJB, a lot of Kane's originals ink pages are fading away now.
Yeah.
Dori asks, what's the best suggested brush quill to use for inking? Like you said, Winsor Newton, usually number 3. This is actually a Raphael. They're pretty dynamite as well. This is number 4. Some people use like a number 1, but that would take me too long to ink a page with a number 1.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just make sure you have a good point going.
Well, I'm not too sure how many people are familiar with this, but the way you and I work, right? It's we work on big pages. Like it's not tiny things. They're like by 11 by 17 standard.
Yep.
And then when you shrink down to comic size, everything what we say tightens up. So it's not, line for line of what you see and what we're doing. So, that got me as a kid too, trying to mimic the same thin line. I saw what I saw on the comic book, I was trying to emulate, on the boards. But I gotta say, man, like nothing beats looking at a traditional ink beat board. It just so much power in it, right? Like
totally.
When I go to Comic-Con, sometimes, especially here, I feel like I'm spoiled. You get to see all the past comic pages that you've read, and when you see it, like it's amazing. You remember from the comic page because they're your favorite comic books, but like to see an original, see an original Jim Lee or something like that, when it's just so awesome, right?
Yeah,
nothing beats it.
No, not at all. I had an opportunity, there's a Frazetta Museum. Where is it? Philadelphia? I don't even know. I forget. But it was briefly in New York.
Yeah.
Years ago, and I got to see not only his paintings up close, but a lot of his, comic book pages, black and white, and those are freaking gorgeous.
I know, man.
It's so gorgeous.
I mean, yeah, you can't express like when it's printed. It's just a different thing when you actually see, from the reproductions, right? But when it's like, I haven't seen like a Frazetta, like a real one yet.
Right.
But I can imagine, it'd be breathtaking as well. For guys like us.
Yeah, it's just the line weights, the sure lines that he put down, and all these super thin lines that it's like his landscapes and trees and rocks and everything, grass and bushes, everything. It's like,
are you familiar with Jorge Zafino or George Zafino?
Give me a book title or something.
He did Winter Wars. I think that would be the most popular thing for Epic.
Oh yeah. I love his work. His work. Yeah, he did like some weird stuff at Marvel at one point.
Yeah, the Terror.
Punisher or something. The Terror, yeah, the Terror was when he did some Punisher work.
Oh, that Punisher work is my favorite, man.
Yeah. It's like every face is like bug eyes and
Yeah.
screaming mouth, and it's fun work, but it's like highly detailed, like before Marvel, where he was like really taking his time,
You remember
really
that,
getting
right?
intricate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was a hatcher. Like yeah.
Yep.
And I appreciate like later in his career how he would just be more gestural than expressive, that's when I first saw him. There's
Right.
an issue of Conan that me and my friends always laud about, and a couple of my friends actually own a couple of those pages, but it's just brilliant,
Nice.
Peter. Like every line, like you were saying, is very sure. It's like an expressive. The reason why I was talking about that is what we were talking about original art is I have friends of mine that said the actual art is layered, so he would be used wide out, and then you could see him doing corrections, so and he would have like blade scratches through all of them, so
Right.
it was like a different experience to what you see that was reproduced.
Right. Yeah. And that's for most of my career, I've always tried to do, like put down every line exactly how I want it, and try not to make errors. And I mean, that's for the most part, that's like I've had very few cases where I put white on a page,
Right.
because I'm so meticulous about what I'm doing and how I'm doing it and all that. But there is something like real natural about like his work or Alex Nino, or it's like that they get those juicy lines going.
Yeah. Yeah, you could feel like the power from it, right? And
Yeah.
the chiaroscuro they're doing, it's just amazing stuff.
But you got a lot of emotion, and I mean it's all darkness with your work. I mean, there's so much beauty in what you do.
Well, thank you, mate.
Hmm.
I think the subject matter, I like it. It's really more of just the values that I like. Not values as in like moral values. It's like the artistic sort of. I love how things fall. How light casts on
Right.
shapes. That's why I think I gravitate more. Like with actually, what we're talking about, Killer Bad. I actually stopped doing all that. And it wasn't using. I wouldn't want to say I was using it as a crutch, but I wanted to challenge myself more. Just to
Right.
have things more open. Well, I mean, like putting down blacks is hard enough. That it's
Right.
as hard as like leaving it out. You can really like mess things up when but it also covers a lot and it also fills the page a lot more.
Yeah. I always tend to think that like a page that doesn't have like 55-60% black is not really a page.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree, man. I had to fight myself constantly, like because I'm coloring it myself. I had to stop myself on listen. I said, "You're finishing it. You're coloring it. You don't try it over, over pencil or whatnot. Not too much line work. Let the colors sort of shape and sculpt, the scenery.
Right.
You know, um, yeah, like I said, the Kickstarter is also like me sort of growing, from my constraints or like what I'm usually doing.
That's That's what I try to do. I got like a lot of different projects going on, artistically speaking, and definitely when I get into penciling, that's going to be a whole new challenge for me.
Yeah.
It's like I could draw like it's like I could draw some pretty pictures, but to actually tell a story, it's something else entirely.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard, maybe. Every page is like a challenge, right? Every panel. What am I saying? Page. Every panel is a challenge.
Oh, absolutely. You're trying to convey, like emotion and tell a story and be on target with each character in each panel, and
yeah,
like that could be challenging alone,
and also the overall design. You got to also think about that.
Right.
How the page looks. That's just the page as well. All those challenges.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, right? Like the composition could, like, I guess storytelling wise is right, but design wise it would be like too lopsided. Where it for the storytelling element, it'd probably be appropriate to have it every shot as a mid shot, but you should add like an anchor page. Anchor page meaning like the thing that draws you to the whole page.
Right.
I think that's I think I learned a lot that from the image artists, and especially McFarlane and whatnot. I mean, the page is a beautifully, you can tell what's going on with the story, but there was always like an impact panel.
Yeah, I mean, like in the basics, you gotta break up a page. You can't just do. I mean, some people can pull it off, like Steve Dillon, R.I.P.
Yeah,
was a master at boring art.
Sure.
like he did page after page after page of just talking characters, but somehow it was still beautiful to look at.
Yeah.
And like that's hard to pull off.
But it was also an enthralling story, though, wasn't it, Peter? Like Preacher.
Yeah.
It got you. I think not only did service the story, but and it's funny, right? Like once, I think when I was younger, I wasn't, I didn't really, go to Steve's work like that. But as you get older and you appreciate story more, I got upset when he wasn't drawing Preacher. Like that's his style. That's how I want it. That's how I want it to look.
Yeah, it's hard to replicate certain artists. Definitely.
Like he made his own. Like he said, like he was cast perfectly for the story of Preacher.
Yeah. my Preacher story is always I wasn't collecting it as a floppy. I picked up the first trade when that came out.
Yeah.
I read that and I was like, this is too dark. This is blackness in my soul. I can't read this. Right. But years later, there was the TV show, and I could, I'm a different person than the young kid at that time.
Right.
And I was like, this show is genius. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, come on, those Glenn Fabry covers.
Yeah. Oh man.
He used to scare me as a kid in Wizard.
Yeah. He is so good.
Yeah, so visceral, right?
Yeah.
That's funny though. Back in the day, like, I wonder, like, did the cover? Did people think they were gonna get like Glenn Fabry all the way through? I don't know.
I don't think so. I mean, it's pretty easy just to open up the book and see it's not him. But
sure.
That's always been the thing. Like, don't judge a book by its cover, because more than likely. It's not what's on the inside.
Yeah.
I mean, you spoke of heavy metal before, right?
Yes, right.
I was into heavy metal years and years ago, and so many, when it was just the like European artists, and so many fantastic covers, and a lot of cases it wouldn't be any of the art on the inside,
That's right.
But that's a whole thing nowadays, especially like with Kickstarter. Everybody makes such a big deal about the covers. I'm intent on not doing more than one cover myself.
Right.
Because I feel like I remember what Fantastic Four #1 looks like. I remember what the first issue of Spider-Man looked like, the cover. Yeah. And they were iconic. And that's lost today because everybody's making 36 covers for their book. And, it's losing that magic.
Well, it's the 90s are coming back, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if you know Shelby Robinson.
No, I'm not familiar.
He's actually he was working up at Extreme Studios for Rob Liefeld back in the day,
right?
And he's he's making his own books now, and one of them is titled 94,
right?
Because it's just inspired by that whole era of insane craziness and
right.
giant guns and pockets everywhere, and
right.
Just, extreme violence and fun.
Yeah. Did you watch Suicide Squad?
Yeah. I saw the original and the new one. Yes.
Right. That to me was an Image comic book.
Yeah. It very much is, and it was definitely really well done, and so many insane characters in that, and frankly, it's great to see Jim Gunn do movies again.
Yeah.
I was really bummed out when they first kicked him off the internet.
Yeah. Watch them tweets, eh?
Yes, watch them tweets. So if you had to rate your comic, is it mature? Is it PG? Is it?
Yeah, I'd probably say it's more closer to, mature.
Yeah.
But Peter, this is just it. Like the content that I was consuming back then, I thought I was an adult at 15, right? That's what you think.
Right.
You think you're an adult at 12, and those first early issues of Spawn, I was like, what, 15? But I was like, yeah, this is cool. It didn't really, it's, the subject matter, some of them was like, way above my head, but I still just found it cool, right?
Right.
So it's very hard to sort of, say, who's at like what age is for. It definitely is violent. We've got a lot of that in there.
Yeah.
But it's so it's also got the it's also inspired by that X-Men cartoon. Unapologetically, loved all that stuff. A lot of those tropes are in there.
Right. Yeah, I guess I'm like, I know plenty of parents who they're letting their kids watch like something like Aliens vs Predator.
Yeah.
When they're like 7 years old, It's
right.
I remember how my parents were, and they were highly overprotective. I'm the youngest of 4 kids, so
right.
I was the most overprotected kid in the batch.
Yeah.
Because I was the baby and would always be the last baby for them. So, but kids nowadays, they're playing video games that are extremely violent. They're watching movies on streaming that they're allowed to, and it's not, to me, it's not necessarily a bad thing, because I've played extremely violent video games. I've watched extremely violent movies. I'm as extremely violent as a paperclip. It's like, it really doesn't, it really doesn't influence me whatsoever. I, either find it extremely funny, as in the case of, Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Or moving, in the case of, like, I saw 1917. Have you seen that? That's an awesome movie.
1917. Who was the star again?
It has a few. Well,
he was Punisher, wasn't he? The star of 1917, was he?
I don't think
Thomas
so.
Jane?
Because no, it's not Thomas Jane. Benedict Cumberbatch is in it for briefly.
Right.
But it's stars I didn't recognize, and that's not the point of it. It almost plays out like a video game, because it's an adventure, a mission that these kids go on.
Yeah.
And it's like the cinematography is phenomenal, and the story is engrossing, and but it was like highly moving, because it was so unusually different than every other war movie I've seen.
Right.
And definitely recommend it.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
We were talking about cartoonish violence. You've seen RoboCop, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. That's where I got my sort of key on how to express violence. You just go over the top, or it's just insanely stupid, or now it gets comical. That's why I think James Gunn is sort of in that, echoes that a little bit with Verhoeven sort of doing that as well.
Yeah, that's true. Yep.
I mean, I think it was when I first watched RoboCop, it was sort of, that was kind of awesome, but then like years later I didn't realize he had another version of it, because really? Being from Australia, you just catch it on TV and they censored out a lot of it.
Right.
And I think they even censored the video copy, the VHS copy of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it showed like the Verhoeven cut of what actually happens to Murphy.
Right.
Spoilers.
Yeah, most people have seen it or don't want to see it. But
he does become RoboCop.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like when that came out, that was, to me, that was a perfect movie from start to finish. And it was extreme. It was over the top. It was all that. But beautifully done,
Yeah. I mean, because he took it seriously, right? Because from what I heard, he threw the script he just in the trash, and I think it took his wife to sort of convince him that no, there's something in here that you can work with. And I think he just he put like a it's a Christ analogy, really, right? And he made it like something like more, I guess, serious or palatable for him.
Right.
But that's amazing. What a title, RoboCop, if you really think about it.
It could have been another one of those silly movies that were coming out at the time that, like, maybe a few people would watch, but it wouldn't have, I don't know how well it was received, but I knew everybody in my circle was watching it and saw it, and loved it.
Yeah. I think it was also to do with that cool design, right? That Rob
Oh,
Bottin.
yeah.
He if you saw the behind the scenes, he had like a Gundam type of design for him.
Right. Yeah. I watched the new one, which had a few moments.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no reason for them to remake it because the original is perfect.
Right.
But I do like the new design was pretty cool.
Yeah. Right.
And there was a few things about it that were really good, but overall, it's like, yeah, that was just another movie that didn't need to be remade. It's like one day they'll figure out we should remake a movie that sucked originally and make it great, instead of taking something that's great and making it meh,
Like, why would you remake Point Break?
Yeah. Because you couldn't go to the beach that weekend, so.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking of remakes, though, Scarface is a remake, right?
Yeah. That's but it's is it a remake? I never actually saw the 50s version, but I imagine that to be a typical gangster flick, not what Scarface with Al Pacino was.
Right.
It wasn't these foreigners coming in and selling coke and all that.
Yeah, but I guess it's like the pursuit of the American dream, right?
Yeah.
I think it took the sort of the the themes and sort of echoes of like and the spirit, right? That's what you should do a remake. And I think maybe the failure of RoboCop was it was the design, the time that RoboCop came out was like Ragin era, was it? The excessiveness
right
of the 80s and whatnot, and that's
buy that for $1.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly it. That and I think maybe the new one was because the first RoboCop was a kind of a comedy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I think the new one, which I like you said, I do find that design fantastic. I loved it, but it was just trying to be like a movie, like this summer. They're really RoboCop, not.
Yeah.
Not like a tongue-in-cheek sort of thing.
Right. Yeah.
But conversely, Judge Dredd took itself seriously and was way better than the Stallone one.
Oh yeah, it's like I enjoyed the Stallone one. I don't remember too much about it, but I remember enjoying it. I think Rob Schneider was his sidekick or something.
Yeah.
But definitely the Call or Rain. He was excellent in it, and that was a great movie. I didn't expect to like it as much as I did, and I'm so glad they did it. They did a good job. But much like a lot of people, it's like, why didn't they do a sequel? It's like.
Well, from what I heard, it was a rights issue with the second one, with a remake. Yeah, it took a lot to get that off the ground in the first place.
Right.
And when it came out, it didn't do so well. The Dredd.
Right. Yeah.
And you get like what they call it again, hindsight quarterbacks. Why it didn't do well, and they I don't think that was correct. They said like a lot of it was to do because the original Dredd film that kind of put a mar on it.
Mm.
But I don't know, that came out quite a lot later, right? Like the Stallone one was like 95, 96, and Dredd came out 2012.
Yeah. I think there's a good gap between them for sure.
Yeah. But the the original one was pretty fun. I watched it just recently. The designs are still great, man. Like that ABC robot still looks dope.
I'll have to catch it again at some point.
Yeah, I think the real Dreadheads hated it because he took his mask off.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing you're seeing in superhero movies now. It's like I enjoy the new Spider-Man, the actor and the movies to a certain extent.
The Holland one, you mean?
Tom Holland. But it's like, stop taking off your mask, dude. It's like, it's like, yeah, it's just,
we got to sell the actor as much as we're selling the movie, dude.
Such is the case. But I mean, that's why they expose the superhero for his real identity and whatever.
Yeah.
I like my superheroes to be a mystery.
Yeah. What are you feeling on the new Batman?
The next one coming out, you mean?
Yeah.
I'll probably enjoy it. It's going to be a grittier, more emo Batman than we've seen before.
But man, you got Peter. Like he actually has the makeup under his eyes.
Right. Yeah.
Which he really always did. Like, if you watch Batman Returns,
right,
before Keaton is about to rip off his cowl, it's him without the black makeup. And I think I thought that as a kid. There was something odd I didn't get at the time. But of course, he's always got black makeup on around his eyes. And from some of the stills I've seen, they're actually having it white out, right? The actual pupils are going.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that should be interesting. Or maybe they just lit it that way, where it looks like that.
Yeah, I think it's whatever you see now is not the final cut. So we'll wait and see. But I mean, it looks interesting, and it's going to be a trilogy from what I heard. So
yeah, I
know I'll see it and like it. I won't consider it the definitive Batman movie because it's a different take. It's like an alternate. I don't know what DC's doing, but it's an alternate realities.
Yeah,
or something, dimension Batman or something. Yeah,
but I don't know, man. Like, Matt Reeves can make talking monkeys cool, and I think that's one of my favorite trilogies because do you know the third one? You always get the third movie that's like the third curse guy. Like, that last one was trash.
Right.
You have the first one's great. Usually the second one's the best, and the third one just sucks. But with Planet of the Apes, it was just beautiful all the way through.
Yeah, I enjoyed those. I'm not sure how well they did, but it's almost like they came and went, and maybe it was a bit of timing or whatever. But I grew up on ape movies, so
yeah.
The more campier versions, of course. But
admittedly, did you get the end with it?
Of the new one?
No. When you were a kid, did you? I was a pretty stupid kid, so I didn't understand the whole liberty thing.
Oh, with the Statue of Liberty? I mean, yeah, no, it made sense to me. It's like I'm originally from Brooklyn, so it was like, oh yeah, and I know the Statue of Liberty.
Well, man, you've got a great borough here, man. I'm living here now. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I was born and raised in Brooklyn. I always considered it the small town just outside of Manhattan.
Well, some of it feels that way.
Yeah, it does. It does.
When I first came to America, when I first came to New York, I had a place in Flatbush.
That's where I'm originally from, Flatbush.
Oh.
And Avenue J. And Avenue J.
Avenue I for me, matey.
Yeah. Close enough.
Yeah. The what they call it again? The Philip Howard. It was I think it's the tallest building there. That's where my first apartment was.
Yep. I know where you are.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, no, dude, that's like parts of that feels like small town. Like if you walk around.
Yep.
Yeah, that place is. Yeah, I love that place. Bed-Stuy has like parts of Brooklyn have different feelings, right? Like where I'm at now in Bed-Stuy feels different as well.
Yeah. I was out in Sheepshead Bay. I was walking distance to Coney Island. I used to go to the beach all the time. You know, I had a crappy apartment in Sheepshead Bay, but it's like I didn't care. I'm walking distance to like not only the Bay area where all the shops and the boats pull up and sell fish, but also just close enough to go to 2 different beaches if I want.
Yeah, dude. Like coming from Australia where it was just like houses, you have your car. I find that it really doesn't really matter what your apartment is if you're in like Brooklyn, because you think about it, the cinema is the Alamo if you want to go there, or like a theater.
Right.
You hardly cook. You're probably ordering in, or one thing I love about Brooklyn is you can go downstairs to a bodega and get like a sandwich anytime you want.
Yeah,
that was pretty neat. And everything here is walking distance. I haven't like driven in a while now.
Yeah. Well, I still don't have my driver's license because I lived in Brooklyn. I lived in Manhattan. I lived in, everything was available 24/7. But I also love to walk, and there's nothing more fantastic than walking around Brooklyn or walking around Manhattan and just you can make it a whole day thing.
Well,
yeah,
dude. We were talking about references and whatnot in New York. I got like a lot of it sunk in to about comic book references, what you guys use for what's in a Spider-Man page, especially with the water. Again, talking about McFarlane, I'm like, oh, those water things. That's how we used to draw them, because they're prevalent all around New York, and there's always mist coming out from, which is a great, it's a great drawing thing. If you want to just like give some, you're lazy or whatever, you want to cover some feet, you just do some like mist. But that's true that if you live in New York, when you're walking around Brooklyn or whatnot, no, Manhattan, mist shoots up from the ground like that.
Yeah. That old Marilyn Monroe thing where she's over a grate and air comes up. That actually happened to me. Like I was walking, they were young girls, but I was walking behind them. Up the block, and one of the girls got hit. And I was going, oh, you mean? And I was just laughing. She didn't expect it.
Right, yeah, but that does happen. Where's that wind from? Is it from the subway train? Is it the
yeah, subway and sometimes other things, but it's hot air being pushed out. But I don't know if you were a big fan of Frank Miller when he was on Daredevil.
Yeah, man.
But I remember specifically where Daredevil is running along the railing of West Side Highway,
right,
which is the highway above the ground on the west side.
Yep.
That passes, where Twin Towers used to be.
Yes.
And yeah, he incorporated, even though it was a very cartoony version, he incorporated a lot of spots within his work.
Yeah.
I mean, his New York felt more real than a lot of other New Yorks I've seen in comics.
Right. Would you say the same thing with the JR stuff?
I love JR.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love his Daredevil run and even his Iron Man run. I mean,
Oh,
he's
so good.
X-Men, like even when he was, still learning and kind of stiff, there was always something about his work that stood out,
Yeah, I love the body models because I think it was like the 90 time in the 90s with the image artists being prevalent that he actually
Right.
changed the body models so smaller heads, longer legs. Do you remember that the Cable series?
Oh yeah.
Metal, I think.
Yeah. I don't know if I read it, but I definitely like glazed over it 100 times.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. It's like it's that yeah, I definitely remember his work on Cable. Um it was big, chunky, and everything was, all these huge patches and
yeah.
just equipment and outfit and guns. Yeah, insane guns he used to make, and
Guns on guns on guns. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
It'd be like taped up. I've seen a couple of times where it's like it's got like tape around another gun to make it into one gun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny, like in the I won't give anything away, but in Suicide Squad, in regards to Idaris's guns,
Right.
that was like, oh, that makes utter sense. Like it's still maybe not quite possible, but
But wow,
but
it's cool, right?
I loved how he was playing with them, and yeah, it was like, oh man, that's awesome.
That's what I'm saying, man. It was like an Image comic book, like come to life. I'm like, wow, this is it.
Yeah, yeah, it was awesome.
But there, I think what's happened before that has allowed. Do you think that would have been, I mean, we heard about what the numbers it's made or whatever, but do you think it would have been sort of acceptable, as in like as much loved as it was when it came out when we were wanting like a proper comic book movie? I think we came out, we had the Captain America by
Right,
Salinger's, yeah, by J.D. Salinger's like grandson or whatever. You know, um, just disappointing because they were just outrageous. They actually were close to the costumes, but it was just still sucky.
right,
And
yeah,
now you're seeing people, especially with Marvel, they're almost line for line the same costumes they're wearing in the comic books. Like I probably will probably see the X-Men with a brown a Cochrane Wolverine, right?
right, yeah. I mean, I hope so.
Yeah,
Like because even when they were sort of kidding in the, I forget which X-Men
I
movie,
was just thinking that. Yeah, X-Men
like
1.
at the end of one of the movies where they actually had the Wolverine yellow costume, but it was in a
Yeah,
suitcase or something.
that was Wolverine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
They teased it, but they didn't deliver.
Oh, dude, I love that. I actually, after the movie, I was, Google imaging it, and it's still like held up. It was just a flash on the thing, right? They actually
Yeah,
made it metallic, and it had like these rivets in it. It looks just awesome. I'm like, yeah, he could do that.
yeah. But definitely like with Suicide Squad, where they have costumes that look like costumes,
Yeah,
and it's not off-putting or I think they pulled it off great, and they look great, and they can do like the comic book versions of costumes, and it would look, fine.
yeah. Well, I believe honestly, it's just how you light something up, right?
Yeah,
I mean, you know, you could have any costume designed well or whatever, but if you light it badly, it does look kind of stupid. Like I hesitate to say with anything, any of like the costumes that we love, like from the Batmans or whatever. You light it wrong, you shoot it wrong, it looks stupid. If
yeah,
you just if you you photograph it right, it can look awesome.
yeah, totally. And costumes, and I mean, some of them actually exist. Some of them are, I don't know, CGI.
Yeah.
Nowadays. So it's just a matter of a little movie magic, and you
Yeah.
can get it to work.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right, man. Like, I'm kind of sad that it didn't do as well as it should. I really thought it was going to be a big one.
Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Um, it's timing more than anything. It's just a weird. Um, it's like pandemic went away, but now it's back with a new variant and blah blah blah. So Landon's here. Lighting is everything. Hey guys, hey Peter.
Hey, what's up, man?
I want to click this. Dori said before, found Bristol. I like Vellum. Question mark.
Yeah. Yeah, Vellum's my go-to too.
What comic paper are you using now? I like Canson, like the Canson, specifically made comic pages.
Yeah, they're quite good, man. I think that's
Yeah.
just I was using Canson for a while, and then I switched to I went back to Strathmore for a bit as well.
Okay. It's not too different.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's sometimes it's the weather on how it affects my inks if I want to fine or whatnot. But like as long as I'm not a big fan of like the line blue around the work.
Right.
Like I can find that I can just fix that up on Photoshop or whatnot. I don't really have to follow those guides. But yeah, I've been using like the Strathmore and just cutting it down. The brown one. It's like a real heavy one.
Right. Yeah, I think Rich. This is okay. This one's Canson, but the earlier pages were Strathmore. Maybe 300 pounds, 400 pounds. I forget the specifics, but he was using earlier.
Yeah.
But
but that's another thing too. How mainstream that comes. Can you imagine like when we were coming up, they had like boards like this, like for the boards itself. I had I'm from the same city as. Have you heard of the artist Ashley Wood?
Yeah, love his work.
Yeah, he's fantastic, great guy as well. But when I was younger, he was one of those guys from my little town that made it. That actually got work from Marvel. He was working on Ghost Rider at the time, but he wasn't too happy with the paper he was getting from Marvel. And no word of a lie, man. Like I met him the first time just in a comic book store. What happened before? I met him for a signing, and I didn't know like what signings were or whatnot, and I didn't know he was on Ghost Rider. So I bought a Ghost Rider book. I wanted him to sign it. But he goes, "I'd love to sign this. This is great," but I didn't do it. Sorry. All right, man. So like not years later, like weeks later, he was in the comic book store. He was buying stuff as well, and we were going through this conversation at paper, and he goes, "Yeah, man, I've got like this bunch of Marvel stuff that I don't like. It bleeds a lot for what I'm doing. You can have it." And you're like, "Yeah, sure." He goes, No, I'm serious. You can have it. I'll leave it behind, the clerk. They know me. Just say it's from me, and pick it up. And yeah, dude, this is what we're talking. This is what going back to what we were previously talking. Like the paper was so precious that I didn't want to use it. This is like from Marvel. It had like Ramita's wife's name on the side, and I don't know why they did that. I'll have to ask one time. But every stock had like different names on it, and it had Romita on there, but because it was the paper and also from Ashley Wood. I was like, oh man! And then I never used those pages. I don't know where they are now. I think they're somewhere from Australia or somewhere, or like in a long drawer.
Nice. So Landon says, I think he's talking about the 400 series, expensive
Yeah.
paper. Yeah. I know for a time, like, I never had to get paper being an inker. But I think I got paper at some point, but there were definitely huge variations in the quality throughout the years. And it was like, there was a 5-year gap at least where the paper was so bad that it was sucking up the ink. It was thin as hell. It was like, and they were like, use it. We got to use it up before we get more. It's like, oh man.
Nah, dude, it caused a lot of like internal controversy among artists.
Yeah.
Because technically they have to. Well, they don't have to. You could have gone out and bought paper, but you're working professionally. From a company, they have to supply you the paper. That'd be nice,
right? Yeah.
But they were giving like stuff that would, especially for the. I mean, like there's one point with the penciler where they just don't like how it feels, but especially for an inker, dude, getting, busted out lines because of the paper.
Yeah,
it's not fun. And being under, can you imagine? And also being under deadline, where it's like, well, I'm gonna get. As an inker, you're the finisher, right? Everything has to get that. You're the last line. Well, before the colorist,
right?
So it's on you to make it look good, right? But can you imagine have to light box all that crap? It just adds an extra step to your work,
Yeah.
I've read some fun feuds like in Wizard about that too, about where a penciler would be too heavy on the pages,
right,
and giving it to the inker, and
that happened too.
They work together.
There was a guy. I don't think I ever worked with him, but I was up in the studio. McDaniel, I forget now. But he was a good kid and great penciler, and he probably did some X-Men stuff or something or other. But I remember his pencils, man. He dug into that paper like he was scratching on granite or something.
Yeah. Yeah, dude.
Landon says, I miss Wizard. Yeah, I miss Wizard too. Yeah. They were my biggest paycheck.
Dude, that was awesome, man.
I did a lot of the verses. You remember the verses?
You did that, yeah.
I did a bunch with Cal Fury. I did one over Sean Chen. Some other stuff. I mean, I got the ink because of Wizard. I got the ink Ringo, Mike Ringo. And oh my God. Okay, so I inked a bunch of random stuff over Ringo. And I thought all of it was for they had like the Inquest game magazine as well.
Yep.
And one of the pieces I inked over him turned out to be a Gatecrashers piece, which I didn't even realize until recently. And I showed my brother for confirmation.
Yep.
And he's like, I never even saw that. It's like, it's so funny.
Nice. I didn't know you did those. I love those verses. They were awesome.
Oh yeah, I mean, I didn't do them all, but I did a bunch of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was, it's like I got paid, and those were just like not always full page. They were like just spot illustrations or whatever. So, like maybe a third of a comic page.
Yes.
And I would get paid twice as much as I was getting paid at mall. It was like ridiculous.
Oh man, I love those things. You remember a lot of what I learned was there from those crash courses and those brute babes.
Yeah. There was Bart Sears. Later, actually, Cal Fury did a bunch of those.
Yes.
And yeah, I mean, just okay. So like Wizard magazine to me was like reading the Marvel bullpen in Marvel Comics. It
Right.
was a cheerleader for comics,
Oh,
and
totally.
and I freaking loved it. And yeah, we have, I don't know, 9 bazillion websites and places to go to see about information about comics, but nothing equals that magazine or that era, you know.
But if you think about that as well, Peter, they really monopolized like your I don't want to say you. It sounds bad because they did make celebrity rock stars,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
they were also the voice that really make or break your book or your career, right? Like that's another
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Because
They can only promote so much, so they kept it small.
yeah, and then they really, like I said, they made these guys rock stars, and they were the only source of what we love. And admittedly, I took everything like like they're the Bible of comic books, right? They know what's right. I mean, they had a price. They had a price thing at the back of it, for sakes. And would that be insider trading? Like they saw the book was hot, then they convinced the retailer that book is hot, and then they have a whole bunch of issues, and then they said, "Oh, this is skyrocketing now. This is hot." Is that the machinations of how they worked? You remember the top 10 books,
Yeah. It all folds in on itself at the end.
Right. It's like this book's #1.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. I mean, I also liked it. I'm pretty sure, like, for whatever reason, my name was in the back for so many issues or whatever. I even forget what the hell for. Like they had a whole list of different artists and whatnot. I never got to ink a cover. I always wanted to ink a cover, and I got a call from one of the guys up at Wizard one day, and they said, we got this Joe Quesada cover. You want to ink it? I was like, you sure you wanted to call me? You don't want my brother? I was like, no. We want you to ink it. And it was like, it was almost on its way, but then Joe found out. It was like, no, I'm going to get my inker to do it. Not Peter.
Right.
That was when he started using Danny Mackey. To ink his work, and that's a very specific style, and he wanted to go that way.
Yeah.
And probably the fact that it was me. But whatever. Yeah.
Shots fired.
But yeah, I was like, damn it, I was so close to getting a cover.
So, speaking of tutorials, your brother did one, right? A crash course, didn't he?
Probably. I don't specifically remember him doing one, but probably.
Because I remember he was talking about it's like almost an anathema to go too dark on some of these pencils, because I remember it, and I think it was a crash course, but it was an ash. It was they were using pencils of ash, and then he was showing the 3 ways you could possibly ink this.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That rings a bell.
Yeah, that's what I've got in my head as well, right?
I came up with the name Ash.
Oh, really?
That was It's in one of the issues of Wizard. It says that I can, Jimmy gave me credit that I came up with the name, because he called me one day. He's like, me and Joe just created a superhero. He's a fireman and he's got fire powers. I was like, Ash. And he's like, no, we sort of thought about that. I was like, no, Ash.
That name is awesome.
And I was like, Jimmy said, oh, okay. Like, I'll talk to Joe and I'll get back to you. And he talked to Joe, and it's like, okay, we're going with Ash.
Yeah,
the character was optioned for years to be a movie.
Yeah.
So I got a giant screen TV out of it.
Nice. Yeah, no,
I
oh
mean,
man. Well, speaking of Wizard, that I was following that. Remember the odyssey of trying to get that to the screen?
yeah.
This is
Yeah.
before Sites. Yeah, I remember that, They were asking Joe and
it was basically it was DreamWorks in the early years, and they met Spielberg, they met Katzenberg, and it was supposed to be like the first superhero CGI movie.
That's right.
That was
That's
the original intent, even before Incredibles, and it would have been phenomenal, but it never. I mean, it was literally optioned for at least 10 years, if not more. Not more.
I remember that.
But yeah, never happened. Just like the She movie never happened, and some of the others happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's like as long as the comic creators are at least getting some money out of it, because once it's optioned, then it's sort of in limbo as well.
That's true, man.
Kind of sucks too.
That's true. Yeah, no, I love that design of Ash. That was.
Oh, Ash. When Jimmy and Joe were doing it, and Joe was doing the art, and Jimmy the inks and all that, it was the best comic out there. It was literally
I agree.
So much fun. When Joe stopped drawing it, I was like, nah, not nearly as good.
No, I agree.
Landon says, yeah. I was just going to read his comment. Even though there was payola and making and breaking hot comics for superstars, it was a cool thing to have in the world. There were pros and cons, but we don't really have anything like that now. Yeah, totally. Yeah. There's always pluses and minuses.
Yeah.
But all right, well, I gotta know the show in a short amount of time.
Thank you so much.
But this has been awesome, and much success to your book.
Thank you, man.
Kill a Bad.
Yep.
Just like all those '90s comics with serial killer.
It's got all those tropes in there, but it's all out of love and appreciation of what we were growing up with.
Yeah. I wish you the very best, man, and I'll keep sharing it around as I do things.
Thank you so much, Peter.
It's a great looking project, and you do great work, man. So
thank you, man. I appreciate you for that.
My pleasure. So yeah, I got a couple of links below. If you wanted me to add any other links, I definitely have the Kickstarter link down there.
That's
you can
the most important.
Check it. Yeah. Where would you like people to find you across the interwebs besides the Kickstarter link, which is it's pinned in the chat. So
yeah, I'm as you know, Peter, like how we talk to each other mostly through Instagram at the moment.
Right.
I'm also on Facebook as well. All the socials and whatnot. Occasionally on Twitter.
Right. Yeah, I forgot you're on Twitter. Myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, go follow him. Check out his work. It's phenomenal.
Smash that like button.
Smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel. I'll be here. Hit the notification bell because that always works. Sometimes it does. If you happen to be on YouTube, I think is the factor. But I appreciate everybody coming by.
Thank you,
watching the show. If you're watching later, go check out the Kickstarter. It's great stuff happening. Make it reach its goal, make it past its goal, all that jazz. All right, everybody. I'll see you again in mere moments.